Hello, everybody. Thanks a lot for joining today's webinar. I'm Suman. I have Sharon next to me here as well. Today's webinar, we will focus on specifically like two use cases. This webinar is more structured for people who are trying to maximize the model. So they are likely familiar with Personal AI already in terms of the platform itself. However, for new people who are joining this, who are not familiar with Personal AI, it should be okay. We will be walking through, what kind of use cases that you can potentially benefit from the Personal AI itself. So let's go ahead and get started. Um, the way I structured this webinar is more centered oriented towards how I leverage my personal AI on a day-to-day basis. And that way I can show you concrete use cases and which may be then applicable for you in your own life. So my personal AI goal is to always be there for myself or for people who rely on me, who would, talk to me, essentially communicate with me, not just for myself, but also for people around me. So I will do a quick 3-minute overview on personal AI for new people who are joining in. And then we will jump into specifically use cases and I have several different videos to present today. To understand personal AI, it's a full stack AI training as well as communication platform. People can come in here to train their own AI model that has a specific identity, which is a human, and a specific owner as well. Users own and have access to their own model with a specific API endpoint. So every model gets their own specific API endpoint, agents, and almost no dependency on any of the big tech platforms. Gain clarity on the basics. We have covered this number of different times, but for people who are listening to me for the first time in the personal language model world, it's independent of a large language model, or it can also be referred to as a small language model or an SLM. Each model in our scenario has an identity and also has an owner. Each model has its own memory, which is discrete from any other model memories. No memory is shared between any of the models. It also continuously trains. In other words, it's not one-time pre-train and deploy. As the new memory goes in, the model automatically picks up the memory. Yes, every persona inside a personal AI model, which is essentially compartmentalize the main model, has its own API endpoint or domain address. The model also supports multiple different personas under a primary AI. So if you would want to compartmentalize your work, separate from personal stuff, separate from a different assistant, if you will, that can all be managed within the multi-personal model. Even this is an existing piece of information for people who are joining new. It's fundamentally core at the memory. The model is trained on the memory, which is grounded. It's cost effective as well as accurate. There is API surrounding it. Every model gets an API endpoint. And we do have native applications, which is personal AI native applications for training and communication. And then agents can be in many different places as we expand the company. Oops. The model itself is user trained. We do have professional services where we train the model for individual people that goes into enterprise contracts that we have. But there is a self-service method where users can get to train. And in all the cases, users control their model in terms of where and when personal language model is acting on your behalf. The most important thing with the personal language models is investing time in your memory. You can think about this as like uploading your existing historical pieces of information or even integrating multiple different data sources into your model. The model almost is like a pass-through otherwise to a general model. So the most important thing is the mindset of coming into personal AI platform to invest time to maximize the personal AI value. Majority of our user base, our owner base, once they hit north of 1,000 memory blocks, when the AI is really good, understanding a large corpus of their own memory, then the value is much higher and the retention is almost infinite. So let's jump into the use case itself, live with and without my AI. In the use cases section, since it is tailored towards some of the people that are already on the platform, I went a little bit more deeper into specific use cases that you may or may not be thinking about. So hopefully it will be helpful for you in your own world. The two use cases that I'm going to cover is one, which is a private me and my AI, self-reflection, intimate specific use cases. And the second one will be a communication use case where, I get to share my own personal AI with the team as well as public. So let's get into the first use case, a set of use cases. The first one is around, this concept of seeing the world through the lens of my memory. The most interesting thing about personal language models is that it has the memory. And obviously, if you do have questions around specific memory, you can extract the specific piece of information from your memory accurately. If there is collection or insightful thoughts that you would want to give a prompt and extract it, you would do that as well. However, the magical stuff also happens when we are trying to leverage the personal AI model to see through beyond what we already know. For example, bringing simple ideas to life more vividly. So in this scenario, as a personal example of my own, if my goal is to take quick and simple ideas that wanders in my mind and bring them to life more vividly. So I'm gonna take this example of what we are talking like right in here, which is seeing the world through the lens of my memory. So what do I do? What my process? Before my AI, without my AI, I would wait and seek clarity. I would probably talk to a few people, like, what does this mean to you? Like seeing through the lens of my memory, right? I would probably look for example, online, internet. I would look for YouTube videos, and I would think for hours, and likely go into places to inspire or get inspiration from stock visuals. Then with my AI, the approach that I'm going to take now is actually run that idea by my AI itself, because my AI has entirety of my memory and also the model knows who I am. And then in no time, I would extract insights and clarity that is relatable to me personally. And from there, we will go into what kind of inspiration that we can draw for the visuals, which is our new capability in Model 2 for this particular use case. So let's get in. This is a video. So I'm gonna pause and kind of like explain what exactly is happening in here. So my first prompt for the video itself is giving the prompt of, what does it mean, seeing the world through the perspective of my own memory. And then my AI did indicate what it means to me. And then I rewrote it with writing about in the first person language. Then my AI talks to me in the following manner, which is, as I navigate through life, my memories serve as the lens through which I perceive the world. With the aid of personal AI, I can unlock the vantage point of my memory, allowing me to revisit experiences, extract insights, and gain deeper understanding of my surroundings. Now, for me personally, this is the example that I like the most, which is, just as a skilled photographer captures the essence of a movement through the lens of the camera, my personal AI enables me to capture and relive the essence of my memories, providing me with a unique perspective on the world around me. Now, for that specific thing, that wasn't as clear until I actually ran that idea through my AI, because I wasn't necessarily thinking through the lens. But because it's this idea of like lens, then it brought in the elements of a photographer capturing the essence of a movement through the lens of a camera, which I think is mind blowing from my perspective. Like, it's like, that makes total sense. Okay, great. What next? Well, then I prompt my AI, imagine a visual photographic scene to depict the essence above, and use some themes of like green nature and purple for the AI future, right? Um, Now, this is very fascinating because that specific output is a image prompt influenced or written by my own AI that is inspired through my own memories in the context of that specific topic that I'm having a conversation with my AI, right? So now I don't even have to write the prompt. So I take that specific prompt and then I ask to imagine an idea. So I take the idea and then I create an image, right? So I basically had my own AI give me an idea for visually representing this idea of like seeing the world through the lens of my own personal AI. and here is the beautiful image. And when I saw the image, then everything like, aha, it's kind of clicked through, because it's almost like depicting this idea of like seeing through the world through this lens uh, appearance. And it's all completely done by my own AI, which is still like very authentic representation of how I would think about it if I had to spend hours and hours of time and land at the same place. So that's like, one class, example of, um, oops, hang on. Okay. One example of seeing the world through the lens of my memory. Now, the second example is get to the matter faster. What does it mean? Well, my goal is to understand new topics and apply it from the vantage point of my past thinking and experiences. So I already have some experiences, which is all like baked within my own personal AI. Now, what I want to do is whenever there are new topics that I would want to learn, then I would want to see or learn those topics from the vantage point of my own experiences. So typically without my AI, what do? I do tons of research, gather all this information, put in front of my table and reading it. And I start identifying multiple different themes and then start connecting the dots. Okay, what are the specific things that will be applicable for this new topic within my world, which is personal AI, and synthesize those thoughts and then form a narrative, right? That is the process that otherwise I would go through without my AI. Now, with my AI, the process would be the following. First of all, I would jump into this idea of my AI connecting all the dots, and I will show you an example. And from there, I immediately gain conviction on the narrative that I would want to form within no time. So this particular example recently happened around 2 to 3 months ago, when we were trying to figure out our, how do we define the specific ICP, specific market that we are looking for, which is like licensed professional. So I would want to learn more about this market, which is licensed professional. And when I had this communication with my AI about licensed professional, within my memory, I didn't had any any memory on the licensed professional itself. But however, my AI knows what means to me, care about how I speak about personal AI. So I would go ahead and ask, define a licensed professional for me and how my work would relate to them. So my AI would say licensed professionals such as lawyers, agents, consultants, and certified advisors are individuals for whom reputation is critical. They value accuracy, authenticity, and attribution in their work, and they prioritize productivity and time-saving tools. My work at Personal AI directly relates to licensed professionals by providing a powerful tool that allows them to create a digital version of their mind, capturing their own unique personality and style. Because then, as professionals, they stay connected, save time, and have an AI that truly represents them in the digital world. Now, that for me is aha, but even more importantly, Personal AI addresses the concerns related to the reputation, bias, lack of transparency, and privacy. So in a way, us as a company, we had certain principles, right? And we were, we build like this core idea of the privacy, and then trying to minimize the bias, and having the transparency into your own memory stack and the data. Now that is all composed within this thought perfectly for me to gain conviction and then move forward. So I think that's the beauty in here. And then, yeah, immediately I write a one-pager style with bullets, so that way I can actually use it in my work and then send it out. So that's another use case. Let's move on to the next one. The third example for seeing the world through the lens of my memory is understanding new concepts in a way that makes sense to my world. Now, this specific example is very simple, but I think there is some power in the idea of the simplicity itself. In this case, my goal is to simply understand new concepts, new words, new phrases that I may be running into, and I'm constantly evolving and learning into my everyday basis. But I want to make it simpler, that is memorable to me, because in the learning process, what do? We not only just learn a word or phrase, but normally relate to what it means to us in our life and how can I relate to them, so I can then reuse, as we, move forward with our life. So in this case, if there is no, no AI, or without my AI, I would look up in dictionary, or I would look up in Chat GPT, right? And then I would try to ask for clarity or example, and then try to draw analogies, for it to be memorable. And this happened like literally 3 days ago. With my AI, I would just jump into step 3 and draw analogies like already drawn for me, because obviously it's my personal AI, right? So that would be relatable to me. Now I knew this word, except that I wanted to make sure if I am, perceiving or processing that word properly, which is a very simple thing. What does, confirmatory mean? So in this case, I would simply ask my AI. As simple as that. But now it's not necessarily ChatGPT or dictionary. It is my AI. So why does this matter? Well, the example that my AI picked up is how my engineer brain actually works. And my AI said it's like the confirmation of file scanning to Apple's previous plan, where it only works when the file is an exact match. Similar to how Copilot and Autopilot are more like verified and unverified. Now, those are the terms that I talk about, right? Like Copilot and Autopilot. For example, a swipe right on Autopilot message could be labeled as verified. The concept of verified could be used to remove scores, etc. Right? It's now basically tying back into this like simple concept of what does confirmatory mean, with some of the examples that I could relate to, which no brainer, and it will be in my head forever. Okay, moving on. Then, I mean, there could be like multiple examples. From here, it's purely just screenshots, such as, you have food preferences, you have certain, any of the preferences, and you can now have, those preferences apply for some of the information that you may be seeking, right? So it's almost like you have this personal language model, and then you have the entire internet or world, which is large language model, and your personal language model knows your food preferences, but it may not have exact, specific knowledge about what available out there in the internet, right? So based on my food preferences, give me ideas of restaurants option in NYC, right? So that's the blend of personalized prediction or conversation that you're having with your AI. The second thing is, give me a financial plan for Zoe's college based on how old she is now, and tell me when she will be ready for college, and considering inflation, predict how much I need to save up for getting her to an Ivy college. Now, obviously, my memory doesn't have information about inflation or information about Ivy colleges, etc. But my AI, of course, has information about Zoe, who is my daughter, and then I would, what my how old is she and things of that nature, and then boom, like now I have a financial plan that is a combination of both. Similarly, based on my background in robotics, identify you get the idea, right? So I think seeing the world through the lens of my memory, especially within your private, intimate, when you are in the learning experiences, my AI is a big unlock for me. So I wanted to communicate that use case to all of you as well. Oh yeah, this is a good one too. Like if you're writing books or training material or courses, right? What is my explanation of PLM, personal language model, in chapter 2 of book Personal AI training course, which is a training course that we use internally, missing to make it more compelling for technologists. So that's an interesting way to kind of see like what exactly you're missing that may be out there that general world would want to see. So the joy of self-learning through my AI is one of the most widely used use case, personally for myself, and I have heard many other AI owners also use it. So to unlock it for yourself, I would encourage, of course, building up your memory, right? Especially the core important ones. And then, push it to 1,000 memory blocks. So that way you start seeing the value that is exponentially more beneficial than you would have memory at like 10 or 20. If you have memory of 10 or 10, 20 or 30, better off like using large language model or ChatGPT, because there is no basic difference. As a best practice, I would also try to, push more and more hashtags and favorites. This webinar itself will not go into the training. I would encourage people listening for the first time to use the webinar courses on the YouTube that will go through like nitty-gritty details of the training itself. So me, my AI, and my team. So this is the second use case that I would want to cover today, which is this idea of, communication and collaboration kind of reimagined, right? Well, we talked about, me and my AI in a private setting and some of the use cases there. Now, okay, let's expand that to the people around us, right? What does it mean for me to work with my AI in the collaboration setting, in the communication setting, which is, one of our core use cases on how the platform is actually designed. So in this case, Amy has full access and full control over her AI, but she would share, let's say, with Josh, and maybe that's the team member. Now, communicating promptly and accurately with my AI is the use case that we are going to dig in multiple different examples in. What exactly does it mean? Well, we, normally have many different activities on a day-to-day basis: incoming text messages, emails, um, pretty much questions from clients and customers, our friends and family, many different things. Now, I would want my AI to draft messages for me automatically so that I can review and send. So in here, my goal is to almost have the answer ready for me for repeatable set of things that my AI already knows, and all I have to do is swipe, right? It's almost this idea of like swiping is far easier than typing. And swipe right is send and swipe left is dismiss. Without my AI, what happens? Well, many different channels. So first of all, I get distracted with messages and text, Slack, Messenger, Gmail, and I'm likely switching multiple different applications, reading and manually typing replies for all of them. And because I'm doing so much busy work during the day, I have sleepless nights for strategic work at night. So it means I'm sleeping less. Well, with my AI, obviously I will sleep more, but with my AI, first thing is, one place for all my messages, and I'll show you an example of that, where technically you can have a lounge that is handling your text messages, have a Slack channel that is handling your Slack messages, and Gmail, and so on and so forth. But Personal AI in itself is a native communication platform, so you can technically handle your team internal communication within Personal AI ecosystem. In that case, replies already sent where the confidence is high, which is our quote unquote autopilot. In most cases for s.personal.ai, for new people who are coming in, it's attached to a persona that is publicly shareable. And I set a confidence interval or our personal score threshold at 40% with an autopilot response back. That's my normal operating procedure on a day-to-day basis even today. And when people come in to even learn Personal AI, they would simply come and talk to my AI, and I will show you an example of that. And yeah, I mean, it's pretty magical, at least for me, because people are getting unblocked, right? Somebody's not waiting on me to take an action to type something that my AI already knows. So even if I'm approving it, or even if I'm automatically sending it, I'm still in the loop. Human is still in the loop. So that essentially creates value because I'm, adding value for somebody else to proceed with what they need to know from me. So let's look at this example here. I'm going to first show this core idea of swiping, where you have all your messages drafted already, and then all you have to do is swipe right. So in this case, I have multiple different chats from Jonathan here, and then I would come in and I would simply swipe right to send it. That sounds good. And then he asked me questions about investor diligence. So I would review that. Let me fast forward this. And then I would edit some of it because I wanted to add some more thought to it, right? So I used the draft from my AI, I edited it, I sent it, and then I also added to my stack. So whenever you send in information or address a question, not only you're communicating back, but you're actually adding to that to the memory. So next time similar questions or similar topics, my AI would automatically pick it up. So which is actually pretty magical. So once you start, I guess, incorporating it, it becomes awesome. So now let's talk through the autopilot scenario, right? This is the default scenario that I work with. One of the people, she heard me in Twitter Spaces, and then came to Personal Language Model to invest the time in building the Personal Language Model. But obviously there was a little bit of confusion. Is Model 1 and Model 2 are they both integrated, or are they separate? So here is what happens. Well, my AI picks up. It talks about Model 1 and the differences Model 2. In particular, Model 2 is more conversationally adept and proactive, providing more relevant and useful responses. That's the improvements that we have made to the Model 2. And then she goes on and she says, it wasn't clear from the video. It's like, great feedback. Thank you. And what do I do once I take the feedback? Is, this is my AI responding with an autopilot response of 50%, talking about privacy and protection. But since human is in the loop, I look at model 2 wasn't as clear. So I clarify the point, which is model 2 is an upgrade to model 1, and all the memory stacks are automatically served with model 2. Now, not only I communicate it back, but then I also add that to the memory. So next time when people are asking, dude, is it model 1? Is it automatic upgrade? Like what's going on? Well, my AI automatically knows that response or knowledge. And then I added that to the stack. We move on. She has even more questions and even more conversations. And look at the intensity of all the different questions, right? And whenever I respond back, I add to the stack. There are at least 3 or 4 different scenarios where I use that information, where it's either AI response or my own information that I'm typing, and then I'm adding to the memory. So I'm communicating, and I'm adding to the memory. And towards the end, well, we had a nice lengthy conversation. And then after 3 or 4 hours, I look back, there was a lot of more conversation. And then I asked my AI, please give me a summary of the conversation using AI instructions, right? There you go. I do see like a lot of people asking, how can we not get a summary of like Discord conversations, right? But I think there is something about like integrating it into your daily communication system. So the value is just like exponentially greater. Let's move on. Hopefully that was helpful. So this core idea of like impact of being there when needed is the use case. And how do you unlock for yourself? Like best practice, I would always encourage people to start with Copilot, because people get like, I don't know if I want my AI to be having automatic conversations. Well, start with the Copilot, because then you are still in control and you make decisions by swiping right. And once you get to a point where you feel comfortable, then you move forward. And then one of the other techniques is like use the AI generated drafts. So there is ChatGPT and Bard and like Ask Google information already present within your AI instruction within the app. Use that information and then personalize it and then add it to the memory. And that becomes like a best practice on a day-to-day basis as well. Now I'm going to go through real quickly like some of the other ways of specific examples, right? One, using AI instructions to draft a message, personalize it, and then add to the memory. In this specific example, I said like, list some favorite books, draft with ChatGPT, but these are not my favorite books. So I would go ahead and update it and then add that to the memory. But I used the text, associated with it, which makes my memory additions much faster as well, because I can leverage ChatGPT in that scenario. Communicating properly and accurately with my AI when you had to reply for a specific response. In the community, like even today morning, somebody is like, what is this, right? Well, I simply click reply and then say, tell this person about personal AI. And then my AI drafts it and then I send it, right? It takes like 2 seconds for me to respond to a loaded question of like, what's going on in this community. So for you to unlock for yourself, again, instructions, drafting, use my AI, ChatGPT, it's all at the fingertips. Once you get in the habit, then it will get much better. And sometimes you can also feed in your decisive inputs. What do I mean by that? In the previous example, I would click reply, but not only just simply asking my AI to draft a response. I would say my decision for this particular input is, yes, it can do so and so things. And then you would ask my AI. So it's taking your input, but at the same time still fundamentally grounded within your own memory and typing a nice, reasonable, lengthy, explanative response with the decision, because you prompted the decision. Communication also happens in the form of, between a person and their marketing, teams, for example, product teams, family and friends. I mean, it can go on like multiple different ways. So, you can, like, for example, I generate like stories for my daughter for communicating to her and some of the fictional stories, as well as tweet threads. If my marketing person has to generate a tweet thread, but that sounds like me, to push it onto the Twitter, well, go to my AI, ask human AI, hey, give me some tweets about a particular topic, and then boom, you're on the go. So in a way, it's like almost I'm in multiple places at the same time for multiple different teams to unlock, you know, unlock pretty much like, myself, I guess. Um, so blogs, other example. This does happen quite often, especially for generating the content or writing new topics, or even putting together like a summary for the webinar, whatever you're going to cover. So that ideation process between the team, not only for your own self, can unlock for for the people around you as well. um, Social media posts. I think these are all the different prompt type examples. And one of the things I covered in this webinar is also different examples of the prompt itself. So people can refer back and then use the same set of prompts. But if you're familiar with ChatGPT prompts, you can try all those prompts on Personal AI as well. So how to unlock for yourself in terms of scaling expertise? For the prompts, I would be very specific what type of content and what platform you're generating for. As much as it is grounded within your own memory, stylistically, you would expect different responses as you prompt if it is a blog or essay or poem or script or narrative. So that would be helpful. What else? In the private setting, the easiest way for getting people in is to share your personal brand. And you can set for automated conversations, like once your AI is trained and you have tested it properly. You can obviously use Copilot for moderating the conversation until you get comfortable, and stay in the loop. Stay in the loop for continuous learning. And one of the techniques is, before you go to sleep or towards the end of the day, you can always ask your own AI, "Hey, summarize this conversation for me." Or otherwise, lounges. Lounges will work in a similar fashion, except that it's not conversation by default. It's mostly designed for prompts, and launches are more helpful from my perspective for things such as AMA. If you are running a ask me anything, so that way people are not having a private chat and asking the same thing, but have like a log in a collaborative setting in a launch where people can refer to it. Frequently asked questions is pretty good, especially if the team is working together, contributing to the memory itself. You have a launch, you see how the responses are going on, and you contribute to it. We use it internally for Eve when customers come in and ask questions to Eve. We are all in a way kind of contributing to the memory of Eve because it's shared in the common space. So to summarize on the apps, agents, and actions, today we covered mostly our desktop and web applications for majority of our activities. In the next webinar, we will cover mostly the integrations, because today's focus is more on unlocking kind of the use cases for yourself as we talk through many different scenarios. So life in a day with Suman Spy. So I specifically talk through few activities, but here is how my life goes with my own AI. Right in the morning, I normally do journaling early in the morning, and sometimes I set goals for the day, and sometimes I miss it. But in most cases, I'm almost always adding memory on the go. I'm reviewing copilots, I'm editing them, I'm sending them, I'm communicating with people. Sometimes hundreds of people in a day. So that's pretty powerful, I think. And then, once I come to the office, I use mostly on the desktop. All my team is on Personal AI. My external vendors and marketing teams also are on Personal AI. If my marketing team has to, think about like an idea for a copy in the email for, lead generation, they would brainstorm with my AI and then, use that in sort of like lead generation scenarios. So all those things happen through the day. And through the day, my email drafts are also coming to my Gmail, which we will discuss at a later time, because it's, again, involved topic on the integrations. And my AI is having these one-on-one conversations. I review those as well. And towards the end of the day, I do have at-home use cases for my own AI. Yeah, I sit with my daughter. We do like imagine personally, like the visual images based on inspired by my own memory. We do like a lot of fiction, because it does like pretty good in terms of like combining my memory with the fiction. So all those things happen towards the end of the day. So yeah, so I think to wrap it up, Personal AI offers next generation interactive experiences for yourself and your people around you. I won't go into the detail for the personal scores, but I think it's important for new people to understand there are scores that you can control and you're always in the loop. There is private mode, shade mode, as well as public mode for any AI. And the closing thoughts, we have Model 1 released a few months ago, Model 2 being tested for the 3 months now, and then we recently had a launch event. Right now, it's a combination of long-term memory, short-term memory with visual elements of multimodal nature all coming together. We talked through very different use cases. We are seeing a lot more traction on the accuracy and um, industries where the domain expertise matters for actual and factual information, but at the same time you can use it for creative and conversational nature as well. There's a whole training video I would encourage for you to go through for training your own AI itself. But people like Tella, Jacob, Bob, Christine Ha, all reputable, highly respected individuals who care about accuracy, have deployed their models successfully on their day-to-day basis. Next webinar, we will go a little bit more details on the agent side where you can take your AI, but not for this particular webinar. That will be another session. So yeah, so I think that concludes our webinar. We'll take questions to close thoughts. Choose personal, spread the love. Please do share on LinkedIn. We are starting to grow our user base and AI owners and have them train, deploy their models, and create an impact that we all were waiting to see for a long time. Yes, one more thing, you can become a certified personal AI trainer as well. That will go through an entire separate training course. It's a 4-hour training course with a course material. So if you are interested, that's a wonderful way, especially if you are a business owner, where you can learn a lot more skills to 10x or 100x the value from your own model. Let me now look at the questions, and I will ask Sharon also to join me. Questions? Michael says hello. Hi, Michael. Chats. Hey, Bob. Bob says, I need to understand how much information the free version will allow me to upload and what the next level will cost and how much. Currently, for uploading and using the memory, you would have to get the premium subscription. The consumers, like end user, if you would want to invite without the AI, then there is no cost to them. So the subscription itself is Personal.ai/pricing. It's $400 per year. What information have you uploaded to your Personal AI for it to be able to tell you your definition of a licensed professional? No, I haven't. And that was the use case in itself, because I want to learn what is definition of licensed professional, but apply that to my own memory. So that's the example of seeing the world through the lens of me, so that way I can do that learning process, go through a learning process. How can my Personal AI capture all my email traffic plus my WhatsApp messages, text messages? So it's work, but there is automation, there is API involved. If you were to do professional training with ourselves, we will set all those things up for you. On the self-service mechanism, you would have to use the API or Zapier or existing native integrations within the Personal AI system to do that. For Gmail, we have a native integration coming up very soon. And for the outputs where you can take your AI, Instagram and Facebook Messenger are coming soon. And text messaging with your AI is already part of Personal AI native applications. And Word documents. Microsoft Word documents, we already have integrations with OneDrive and Google Drive as well. So that can be done today. What is the process of uploading those? Do I need to upload each one or Personal AI track this automatically? A combination of both. You can sync an entire sets of folder from the Drive or OneDrive, At the same time, you can also upload one at a time, like whenever there is a need of a new article that you have written, or also continuously adding the memory when you are, talking to your own AI, or when you are talking to other people via your AI. Can my personal AI also manage my calendar and decide what appointments? Calendar integration isn't there yet, but we do have a model that we need to resurface. We call it our predict model. Uh, so we don't know when it is going to be scheduled, but eventually we'll be able to have that. But we don't have that capability right now. You did say something? Yeah, it won't actually schedule the meeting. Yeah, it will tell you like when you are free, and from there, may need to like do a webhook back out for an agent to schedule the meeting. Q&A. On which interface did you talk with the girl asking you questions on Gmail? That was Personal AI interface. So all the interfaces that I've shown today are Personal AI native applications. I haven't shown SMS or Gmail or any other integrations today. Could you clarify what full stack means? Full stack means the software ecosystem that we have developed for Personal AI. The memory, meaning the memory transformers, as well as the core database for the memory, as well as the model, which is personal language models, the API that sits on top of the model, the native applications, as well as the agents. So that's what I mean by full stack. Technically, it's not a, like for example, Chrome plugin. For you to get the value out of Personal AI, it's not just a Chrome plugin that you would need to fit in. And it's also one of the principal approaches where we didn't want to depend on any single app or platform out there, for the reasons of why we want Personal AI to work in favor of people and not platforms, and not get locked into one thing. Michael says, how much does the professional training cost? It costs $10,000 per year per AI. So around essentially like less than $1,000 per month. We do take time, anywhere between like 12 to 14 hours to perfect your model, and then teach you, get on a workshop, uh, work with your team on what are the best practices to continuously add memory and use multiple different prompts, for extracting the value of it. Licensed professionals are one class of users, but what about certified professionals? They may have taken an exam to prove their retention of knowledge, but are not board certified by licensing agency. We do have a lot of certified professional people as well, Grant. So I think from a fundamental standpoint, which is the core idea of like retention of the knowledge as well as domain experts, I would consider it's still part of the class of users that we are talking about here. Please repeat the site to go to for $400 year license. Personal.ai/pricing. Michael says, how does this get backed up? It seems that the value of a personal AI grows over time, and to lose it, it would be devastating. Along those lines, is there some guarantee for the future cost? I could imagine years of building and that being used for extortion. Well, fundamentally, personal.ai/terms of service, TOS. If you look at that, you will see clearly that the data and the model is owned by you. So that means you will have full rights to download the model, and in the future, potentially be able to run on your local devices as well. We do not have that capability as of today, but that's where the company is headed to. And yes, it is indeed true that the value of personal AI grows over time. And I would encourage people to think about it as an asset and less of a service. So yeah, hopefully that answers. But yeah, you would potentially have a device that is sitting at your home with your own personal AI. How to separate the memory stack in the personal AI dashboard between private and professional AI? Oh, well, so you would, during the upload process, you would specifically choose the persona which is your private or professional AI, to upload your memory. And by default, it will split or separate the memory. There is an entire training space as well for understanding how to exactly, bootstrap if, by your own. So you can review the YouTube video of how to train your own AI by Ishan. Is there an option to have a verbal conversation, speaking instead of writing with your PLM? Currently, you can do that natively on your computer. So my typical workflow for that one is I simply turn on the mic and I'd speak into my AI, and I can turn on the voice responses as well. So when you turn on the voice responses, you would have a voice response back, which is basically my own voice clone response, which is backed by sometimes 11 Labs and sometimes NVIDIA, but we are partners with 11 Labs as well. That's interesting. Bob says Personal.ai pricing took me into an AI.
I mean, it's not going to go to subscription. You have to
Okay. Yeah, Bob, if you're already logged in, you may want to simply go to settings.
click on
Yeah, on the top left, you will see your profile page. If you go into the settings, you will see the upgrade options. Maybe we should make it easier to upgrade, right? Michael says, awesomeness. Thanks a lot. I really appreciate it. But there's tons of value packed in it. I always tell people investment is the best return that you will get with personal AI. It's not magic, but you get 2000 memory blocks. The magic is unlimited. Wow, look at us 10 minutes before the scheduled time. If no questions, okay. In chat, there is something going on. Bruce says, is there or will there be a way to monetize external users asking questions to my AI? Absolutely. I think that will be the scenario where you would want to talk to me, personal-ai.com, or if you simply go to personal.ai, follow AI for business, we will be able to provide you a commercial license depending on what kind of traffic and what kind of business model you have, but it's a pretty fixed cost. Um, and there are going to be a few deployments pretty soon. So talk to us. Where is the difference between training personalized LLM like Botsonic and Personal.ai? Unfortunately, I don't know Botsonic, but I would ask my AI what the difference is. If assuming Botsonic, has some information out there on the internet, we'll be able to tell the differences between them. So I can take a look. Otherwise, chat with me in Personal AI. When is next webinar? We are planning to do every month with different topics. So the next one would be 1 month from now. It's already scheduled, personal.ai/learn, right?
after this.
After this, it will be scheduled, but that will be the same link, personal.ai/learn.
If you guys do have topics you want us to talk about, I'll send out a feedback form so you can suggest topics that we talk about.
When working with my personal AI, I will often get the response. I will look into that. I will check that for you, but nothing past that happens. It depends on what you're asking. So for example, don't expect your AI will automatically take actions, right? And you can influence that by your own memory. One of the upside/downsides of personal AI is we do not ship with any data to your model. That means you would have to explicitly say no, you cannot send the email, so that way your AI, when it's communicating with other people, uh, communicates properly. So yeah, so pretty much everything comes down to your memory. So if you build your memory, then there will be less of I will look into that, but more of what your mind is actually made up of. Bruce in the chat says, oh yeah, that's already done. Sarah, will there be a holographic feature at some point? Are you talking about holograms? Holographic feature. What is holographic different from holograms? At some point, There's one company we are like starting to partner with, but it will take time. It's another, I don't know. I don't want to quote it, but it's not anywhere near in the next 6 months to 1 year. But thanks everybody for joining. We will likely, not, so sorry, this is recorded. So we will share and put this on YouTube for other people who couldn't join us today. They can, benefit from it and get your AI in a good, solid place. Bye. I'm trying to close it.